And again, we'll get our cameras rolling. Thank you for joining us. We have some really important news to share with you, but we have Councilmember Cindy Claycomb with us today in the back of the room. And you know, it's fairly momentous because the police chief came out and joined us, and he doesn't join us very often. It's nice to have you, Chief. So I am Mayor Jeff Longwell, and here to share today that we're here to discuss the next step in increasing the safety in our city. We are constantly looking for innovative ways to utilize technology to make our community safer and be on the cutting edge of law enforcement practices. We continue to blaze trails and serve as a template for innovation for other cities to follow. Next week, we'll be launching a pilot project for the Gunshot Detection System. Wichita will be the first city in the world to try this particular technology system. The detection system uses sensors to quickly determine where gunfire occurs. In fact, when a gunshot is detected, multiple sensors are able to determine the location, time, date, type, and direction of the gunfire. That information will be sent to Sedgwick County 911 dispatch in a matter of seconds, allowing law enforcement to arrive more quickly at the scene. The faster response times will help officers locate potential suspects and help those in need. The sensors will be installed in different areas across Wichita next week. The locations are chosen based on crime trend data from the past 3 years and requests from citizens in selected areas. The exact locations are not being disclosed. Again, let me repeat that. The exact locations are not being disclosed to help ensure the pilot project results are not skewed. The technology will be able to detect the gunfire within 1 square mile around where the sensors are located. The 1-year pilot project will take place in several phases over the next year. The city and the vendor will review the results after each phase is completed in order to make any needed improvements before the next phase begins. The accuracy of the sensors is expected to improve throughout the project. A community safety grant is funding the GDS pilot project, the Gun Detection System pilot project. A community safety grant is funding that. The pilot project is part of the City of Wichita's Street Smart approach to smart cities using technology to positively impact citizens' lives. Now I would like to show you a brief video that'll recap the details of the project, and we'll hit something over here, Megan.
The City of Wichita is testing new gunshot detection technology to help make the community safer. The pilot program uses cutting-edge technology involving sensors to immediately locate where guns are fired. Wichita will be the first city in the world to use this particular technology system. Here's how it works. When a gun is fired in the test area, the sound will be picked up by the sensors, which can identify the location where the gun was fired. The data will be sent back to Sedgwick County 911 dispatch within seconds, and the closest available officers will be sent to the area. This is expected to result in much faster response times. The sensors are being installed in locations that were chosen based on public feedback from community meetings and crime trend data. The exact areas are not being disclosed to help ensure the pilot project results are not skewed. The City of Wichita understands and respects citizens' privacy rights. That's one of the reasons why the city selected this technology. This system will only record minimal data such as gunfire. The city will closely monitor the data collected during the pilot program, which will consist of multiple phases. Each phase will be analyzed, and the capabilities of the system are expected to continue to improve. Grant money is paying for the gunshot detection pilot project. It is much more affordable than similar technology from other companies, providing a significant cost savings of thousands of dollars. This project is part of the City of Wichita's Street Smart approach to smart cities. using technology to positively impact citizens' lives.
So at this point in time, we will open it up for any questions that you might have. We have Councilmember Claycomb, who's a subject matter expert. No, any of you want to share any more of the details, or we'll just take questions?
How much is the project anticipated to cost?
Do we have the cost of the project? You have to come up here.
So Mike Maida, Chief Information Officer. To date, we've spent about $5,800. We don't know, as you can imagine, this is in the process of being developed. So the individual doing this development hasn't set a price for it yet, but we do know it's going to be a lot less than existing tools on the market. So that's what we spent to date. We'll do some minimal spending out of the grant funding as we move through these phases, but we don't expect that it will be a significant number.
Can you say what company is behind the project, technology?
I think probably because of NDAs, we probably couldn't say that to date. But I do want to make sure that everybody understands how significant this is. Usually these types of projects are on the East or West Coast in larger cities. So to have this actually in Wichita is a big deal.
And since this is the pilot program, is there any way to say right now how effective or accurate you anticipate it will be?
No, again, that's part of the process that we'll go through is to collect data after each phase, see what needs to be adjusted, do that in the next phase, and then get better each time.
And then the last thing, I know the video addressed this, but should residents be concerned about their privacy in regards to it picking up any sound or conversations?
No.
Are you at liberty to say how many sensors there are?
Yeah, we probably can do that within, it's 12 within each, 13 within each square mile location.
Okay.
So 26 total after both are put out.
Okay. And maybe this question is more for Elora, but will this increase the need for dispatchers to field these calls?
Excuse me. Elora Forshey, I'm the Director of Sedgwick County Emergency Communications. So being that this is a pilot project and we're really happy to be partnering with the City of Wichita on it and excited to see what it brings, we don't really know if it's going to increase our need for dispatchers. So we are monitoring that closely. We're prepared to handle what comes in this first several phases. We have a good partnership with the City of Wichita and the Wichita Police Department to, as we see what this is going to bring us, if it needs more staffing, if it needs more resources, I feel like we have a good partnership to address those needs and to modify as we need to. But for now, I think that we can manage it with our current staff and our current call load.
And I guess my question is kind of officer safety. You know, with dispatch the way it is right now, sometimes you just simply get, hey, there's some shots I heard near my house, or somebody might say, hey, I saw, this color vehicle shooting at somebody's house or whatever. Is there a concern for officer safety as far as people being dispatched with kind of little information besides just kind of a general location of where the shots came from?
I'm Captain Nicholson, Patrol East Bureau Commander. As far as officer safety, when we looked at national statistics, unlawful gunshots, we only get generally about 1 in 5. 1 in 5 actual gunshots are actually called into the police. So in those instances, we hope to improve on our response time. We also hope to give those residents who live in those areas that have been plagued by gunfire and violence a little bit more peace of mind. We did speak with homeowners associations and stakeholders that live in those areas that were selected, and they did talk about that they had a concern about gunfire being in their area. And so as far as our response, we're always concerned when shots have been fired. So we'll have more situational awareness. We'll be able to go out and see if there's, as this goes through its different pilot programs and different phases, we'll be able to go out and see if it was actually a gunshot, see if there's evidence, if there was any victims, and investigate and see if there was any crime had been committed. And also, I want to thank Shocker Studios for making that video. We did a good job on that. Anything else?
Question about not releasing these areas. I mean, are we not just setting people up to get shot so that we can collect good data?
Michael, I'll let you talk about that.
Michael Barnett, Smart City Coordinator for the City of Wichita. So part of the concern with releasing the areas is that in any pilot area, we do not want to create an event where people just migrate and commit their crime one block over. With where these sensors are going, we've used historical crime trend data as well as citizen feedback to know that these areas and these citizens want these here and that they need them here. We're not setting people up to get shot. This isn't going to create crime, right? This is going to give our police a better way of responding to crime as it occurs. You know, you look at, according to the Brookings Institute, between 13 and 22% of gunshots are ever reported to police. That's it.
How is this going to tell the gunshot from people like setting off firecrackers or doing all those things that they do?
So one of the biggest differences between the current system that we're looking at and the incumbent solutions in the market is that our system removes the human element from listening to the shots as they're fired. So in most of the current solutions, if not all the current solutions on the market, a gunshot is fired, and that goes to an incident response center where a human listens to that shot and then makes a determination about whether or not it sounded to them like it was a gunshot or a car backfire or a firework. We have a limited range of hearing. Our system uses machine learning and artificial intelligence. They can listen to all spectrums of that audio impact on the air to be able to accurately identify when that gunshot occurs. The reason we're doing this in pilot phases is so that we can continue to tweak that algorithm, or the developer can, and make it more accurate as we move forward in time.
And could you give us your name again, please?
Michael
Spell it.
Barnett.
Michaelbar.
B as in boy, A-R-N-E-T-T.
Okay. And what's your connection to this?
I work within the IT department under Mike Maida, the CIO, and I've been involved throughout the entire process.
Okay. Thank you.
Have other cities used, I mean, they haven't used a specific one, but other cities that use similar systems, what happened in those cities?
Have we followed any other cities that have employed other technology? You want to speak to that?
So in several other cities, they've used similar technologies. In some cases, they've found benefits from it, but it was so costly. In some cases, they've abandoned it because of cost. But in most cases, it's been beneficial. It's typically been the cost that has been a driver in terms of either staying with it, expanding it, or eliminating it.
Beneficial in the way that it reduced the number of crime, or it just increased the number of prosecutions related to those shots being fired?
So I don't know off the top of my head in terms of actual statistics. I would assume certainly that your second one, yes. I don't know for sure on the first one or not, but one would suggest that, right, once people know that it's there, that is a natural occurrence in terms of reduction, but I don't know for sure.
And so then in Wichita, would be the goal to respond to more shots being fired and make more arrests, get to victims quicker, or is the goal to reduce crime?
Well, I can't speak to the goals of the police department. That I leave to the chief, but I assume he wants to do both. He says yes.
And I guess my question also is kind of a law enforcement question, which is how beneficial is this going to be as far as, right now when you have a walking gunshot victim and they don't want to cooperate and you can't find a scene, I'm assuming this will help pinpoint potential scenes and areas to look for evidence?
And so, like I said before, there's generally only about 1 in 5 unlawful gunshots are actually called into police. I know just last week at Patrol North, they had a shooting, and officers ended up arriving on scene and didn't find out that somebody had been shot until further investigation. So hopefully with the advent of these sensors, we'll get an alert within seconds, and that'll get us out there as opposed to relying on people to call us. And now we still are very reliant upon people to, if they see something, say something. But this is just utilizing technology, giving us another tool to be able to respond to crime and make our citizens in the city of Wichita feel safer and more secure.
May I add something real quick from the 911 perspective? In talking about how this would impact dispatch in our operations and those calls that are reported right now through citizens, one of the things we are hoping to build is some of those efficiencies in processing those calls. So when we have a citizen call in, there's been shots fired, which again, they don't call in every call, has been pointed out, but we have to collect different information, their address, their phone number, we're calming them down, trying to get what's going on, trying to sift through information to find things that are good, accurate, and reliable for law enforcement to respond out. With this system, we'll be able to quickly get that information. The data's right there, where it is, where the gunshot came from, what direction it's going, and we can process those that much more quickly. On the calls where officers are responding out, the quicker units get into the area, the less people will start to call to find out where people are, things like that. So while we do know that we're going to have an influx in traffic with those calls, I think the efficiencies that will be built in both in the 911 system and with the Wichita Police Department will help offset that and just make that response that much more efficient for citizens. Thank you.
Let me make sure everyone understands when we're talking about goals. The council's goal is to have a safer community, period. And if this technology enables us to get to people that are committing crimes faster and potentially get them off the streets, check that box. But ultimately, we want a safer community, period. Any other questions? Thank you all for joining us today.